Welcome to Mini Modernz. My name's Simone and thank you for joining me on my tiny corner on the miniature web where we're here to think big, build small. So let's get into it. So today, guys, it's part 2 of my Halloween diorama. If you haven't checked out part 1, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can go and check that out first. Today, it's about putting this all together, getting this Halloween vibe together and creating our own little story. And I'd love you guys to help me do that as well. If you've got any ideas, what you think could have happened in this haunted cabin in the woods, please share them in the comments below. And I hope you enjoyed the video. So at the end of part 1, we started our actual room box that our diorama will be in. We worked on the back wall with the little hatch that will open up to access the lights. Now I wanted to work on the left and right side of this room box, and I wanted to do my own kind of backdrop. And I've never painted before, so this is my first time ever attempting anything like this. So for all of you painters and artists out there, forgive me if it's not to your standard, but it's just, I needed a little something to work for this diorama. So as we're doing a haunted, spooky cabin in the woods, I went for a black and white themed type art to put on the sides. I wanted to have like one side of it look like it's just like the forest and lots of wood type area, and here you see me doing this. So I kind of go with the 2 black strips and then try to go for some grey in the middle, which is supposed to emulate the light coming through, and I hope I convey that the best way I can. So as I've got my greys, I'm working on I've painted my craft board with white acrylic paint, so now I'm just wiping some of the grey off because I wanted to see some more of the light tones come through. I then go over it with some more white paint just to add some more light and bring some more brightness into the picture. And then once I've done that, I then start adding my trees. I use a thin paintbrush and then add some black acrylic paint to it, and then just start adding a bunch of lines where I'd like my trees to be. So once I'm happy with the placement of my trees, it's now time for me to start adding some more volume to the picture. I actually use an old little sponge just to dab on some extra leaves and trees and give a cloud-like effect at the top of the picture. Again, just winging it, just dab anywhere on the page just to give some kind of feeling to it. I also use a thicker brush to add some leaves to the trees. Again, experimenting, and I feel like with this it's something where you can really just go with the flow, but it was something where I felt like, okay, I can just dab and flow, and I think it's definitely a feeling type painting, and something I guess if I can do, anyone can pretty much do. And then again with the sponge, I wanted to add some more shrubbery, some bushes, some textures down at the bottom of the page, so I used different tones, mixing my grey and whites and blacks together just to bring in some different tones and flavors, and I hope that that is actually conveying in this. Once the ground is kind of looking how I want it to do, I add some highlights to the trees with some white paint. Again, nothing too much, nothing I was thinking about too much, just adding some extra textures and trying to bring this whole picture together. I went back in with my sponge as well to add some more contrasts in the greys, just again to bring some more fullness to the picture, adding some more shades to the leaves and the trees, and just all in all, just filling this out a little bit more until we have our finished product. Not bad for a newbie, I must say. Now for the second side, I wanted to go for a bit more lake type area. So, you know, this cabin on one side it's full with trees, and the other side, once upon a time, it was a nice area to go and run and have a nice little swim around the lake. So I wanted to give that kind of feel for the other side. Who doesn't want a great view in the cabin in the woods? Like before, I'm just using my white and black paint to create some different greys and different tones. So I'm just mixing a lot of different colours together and having different levels. And then I'm going to flesh this out a little bit with some trees and shrubbery and all of that good stuff. So to do the actual lakeside itself, I'm using my infamous lamp black acrylic paint, and I'm just kind of shading the areas that I'd feel, you know, where the trees would be, where would, you know, looking into the lake from this angle. And then I'm going to add some more to that in a moment. But also, again, using my sponge, I use this to create the kind of bushy, hilly area that you'll see in the distance. again, winging it, absolutely winging it and hoping for the best. And then because I wanted the area to have a nice area of lake, I also wanted to make sure that we get the shadows coming in from these bushes and hills. So I kind of duplicate what I've just done and kind of add that effect. So that would be looking into the water. And obviously to kind of define that a little bit, I use a little bit of white paint just to go across the edge so you can see the defined line. Do you know what's been great about this project is I've only used a limited amount of resources and paints. So we've mainly used craft board, foam board, a little bit of wood for the dowels. We've used some rope, paper, burnt umber paint and lamp black paint, and obviously gesso. Those have pretty much been all the things that we've used to create this diorama so far. So it's been really inexpensive, and it's a lot of equipment and products that you probably already have if you're a crafter as well. So that's been the really fun part about this. I've not had to think too much about it, and using black and white for the painting here has made it so much easier. As you can see, I've just been adding the trees, the background, the fillers, just trying to get this lake effect. Again, as a noob, I am very proud of myself, and if you're new to this too, I suggest that you try it out. I will try more in the future, and voila, picture number 2. So now my room box is put back together. I am super happy with it. I hope the vision comes to life at the end. Stay tuned with me, guys. And I'm also now, just to make this box a bit more sturdy and secure, I'm going to use my foam board again just to make the actual box more secure, because currently it's just the craft board that we've got. So I'm going to use foam board, put that at the bottom, stick that down, let it dry, and then also go ahead and put it at the sides and at the back. But whilst I am doing the back, as you see, we have an opening where the lights will be accessed. I'll just be cutting a hole around that so that we can actually get to the lights. So there we have it. Now we've got the extra thick layer of foam board just to make the box more secure. And we will be going back around this again later at the end, but I have made my own kind of frame for this. So using my grey craft board, I've made the frame. So I've made there's 4 strips to go all around it at 2 sizes. The first side is about 1 inch, and the second size that will be going on top will be 1/2 inch, just to give a little bit more definition to the frame. Once we've actually got the diorama inside the box, then we'll be adding these frames. So we'll come back to this. So in the meantime and in between time, it's time to work on the trees and the rest of this exterior. So as you can see, I've got my lights here. I've got some of them that are obviously different colors, and I've got some at the bottom which will be where we have just normal regular garden lamps. Some are going to be for the pumpkins, some's going to be wrapped around our tree, because remember, this house was once decorated for Halloween before the tragic demise of the owner, and now it's just haunted. So to make the tree, I use my craft board and then I score it in a few places just so that I can fold it. So this gives me the nice tube which will be the main structure for our tree. I just want to check exactly where I want the tree to go, and also using the same method as before, I just score some craft board and make a nice little cylinder for a little tree stump. Now I add some branches to the tree using twigs, toothpicks, any little bits and pieces I can find, rope. I drill some holes into this craft board so I can make my twigs and branches for the trees. I make this tree as rough and as unkept as possible, using craft board for certain areas and really just mixing and matching how I want the branches to be. I didn't want it uniformed at all, so I snapped some bamboo sticks and I just threw some pieces in there. So to make my texture for the tree, I use tissue, wood glue and water. I just mix that up to make my own little paste and then start sticking it down. I do remove the tree from the diorama so I can have better control of pasting this down. So it looks like this. And then I fight with it a little bit to make sure that I get the branches and stumps exactly where I want them. And then just go ahead and just layer this all up with the tissue and the glue combination. I also do the same for my little stump. I decided to make an area where I'd have a little hole in the tree so we can get some beady eyes in there. Now it's time to paint. So I go over both of them with some black paint as a base coat. Nice. And now it's time to go over them with some wood textures using some different combinations of brown paints. And when I say different combinations, I mean one colour, burnt umber, changed with adding different colours, some greens, some browns to get different textures. Now to make some eyes for the trees. I have these eyes because I crochet teddy bears, and you can see I've got some beady eyes, but I never had some ones with white. So I just painted them white, and I'm going to actually use these to pop into the tree. Ta-da! Hello! With that done, I go back to my tree stump and start adding some extra highlights and some more detail. The stump is starting to take shape. I'm going to leave that to set and dry for a little while we work on the actual tree as well, going through the same procedure as the stump. Brown paint and then highlights. With the trees and highlights done, it's time to put them in place and get the rest of the lawn decorated. So we pop that there, add a little dead grass around the stump here, add some more trinklets like mushrooms and twigs, tiny pebbles covered in paint, and then chuck that down. And then paint a broken hand from one of my daughter's dolls. Could this be the previous owner? Ah, help me. Before putting the tree in place, I add some dead moss, some vines, and really just bring this tree to life a little bit with some extra pieces of the flock that we made. Yeah. Home time for you, little buddy. We're just going to put you there. Then we add some more fungal mushrooms and rest of the debris around the tree. And now is the time for us to add the lights. These were the lights that the previous owner was wrapping around her tree on Halloween, which she never actually got to see for herself. Such a shame. But at least they still come on once a year. Why is that? Interesting. Now with the final dead plant placed, it's time to put a fence around our porch. So here I add a few wooden dowels. You can see the sizes. So the longest pieces, 205 millimeters. The top and bottom pieces of the porch, roughly 175 millimeters. Just one piece here for the stair rail. That's coming in at, let's just say 70 millimeters. And then the pieces that are going to connect from the side post to the wall, 110 millimeters. Put this together using the longest piece and two of the next pieces, the top and bottom pieces. We are going to make the front of the rail and then just connect these two together, let them set. And then we're going to add some coffee stirrers for the actual bars going across. I want to make these as jiggity and jaggedy as possible, but I use the board that I'm working on just to make sure things would have been evenly spaced out had this not been damaged and going through the mill. So you can see I'm just lining up here, but I will change the way it looks so it looks damaged. So you can see here, this is how I'll stick it on. So putting glue at the top and the bottom of the coffee stirrers and then just sticking it up like this, and that's how it's taking its shape. And now I'm just going to fiddle with this and get this to the style that I want. Voila! And there we have it, nice and broken and beat down. And I'm going to have all these extra little pieces that may be on the floor or on the porch floor, you know, just add some pieces. Now it's time to work on the second piece. Again, like what we did before, I'm just going to be connecting the side pieces that will go to the wall, and it's going to be quite tricky. Make sure everything is dry before you do this. I was a little impatient. I wanted it all done now. That's better. Now I can actually go ahead and wash these. Wash them? Paint them. I might give them a dirty wash first, actually, yeah, and then paint them. I'm thinking some of them look a bit too neat, so I might break them up a bit as well. So I'm going to give them a dirty wash and then go ahead and paint them with a nice little brown. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Painted, aged, and looking perfect for the picture. And I really tore this piece up. I'm like, you are not going to look nice. It's amazing how something so terrible looking can look so good, right? Let's add the rail to the porch because we don't want any accidents. Maybe we're a bit late for that, but nevertheless, let's add the porch. Can I clap? Yes, the porch is on. Yay. After taking a small break to run around the room with excitement, I collect myself and get back to business. Now it's time to set the scene for what happened on that fateful night, and I'm going to need wet wipes. Dirty wet wipes. So what I'm going to use here is a dirty wet wipe and this is going to be a blood-stained sheet that was supposed to be concealed but got caught on the fence in the havoc of the night. Guys, this is where you guys can actually help me and tell me, what do you actually think happened that Halloween night? We're going to have some things happening now. I'm going to have the sheets hooked up on here with blood stain, and I'm going to just use some nice bit of red and a little doll's hand, you know. Gotta have the handprint. I mean, I don't know why I did this, but I just wanted to paint the hand red for blood. Like, oh, it was a bad time. She grabbed the sheets in despair. The sheets got caught and they were left there. Talk about hiding evidence. Not. And as I found the wet wipes to be quite useful, I thought I'd go ahead and use it again to make some clothes. Because before things went awry, and, you know, she was just drying some clothes out on the fence. You know, she's been for a little swim in the lake and just put the clothes hooked over to the fence. So I'm going to use my wonderful wet wipes to do this. It's not a real outfit, obviously, guys. Please, you cannot purchase this outfit anywhere. No point in Googling. I know it looks fantastic, but it's not. It's just wet wipe and wet glue. And so I just use the glue and water to kind of shape this. So it's, you know, it looks like it's been worn a little bit. And then I'm going to leave this to dry while we go ahead and make some pants to match. So get your sheet, fold it in half, cut it into some kind of shape, cut out the leg area, and voila. Then just get some glue just to stick down all the edges and then shape it like before and let it dry along with your little vest. There we go. Very nice. While that's drying, I go ahead and make some more vines for the porch and just decorate this a little bit more. Have some grass coming up from the side, some vines hanging down, you know, just to give it that flavor. Ooh, he's still spying on me through the window. Now it's time to make a bin bag that we never actually really got ready to throw away. I'm going to use one of these gloves that I've been wearing, just cut off the finger area, and I've got some dirty wet wipes that we're going to stuff the bag with. But first, one end, it doesn't need to be neat. You can just glue that with some hot glue. Be careful as well, the hot glue is really hot. And once that is stuck down and nice and secure, we're just going to flip that bag inside out, and then we're going to have ourselves a nice little bin bag, guys. What's great about this is I'm reusing something that I've been using throughout this project, and now I can use it for the project, which is absolutely fantastic. So we've got our bin bag. Let's stuff any of the rubbish that we don't need into the bin bag and then tie it up and leave it on the porch ready for the trash man. There we go. Oops, the crows need a home at last, so I'm thinking right on top of this stairs here, right on the porch, looking in, and anybody trying to get to the door, the defender of the cabin in the woods. So now go ahead and put some moss and grime on there, a little bit of glue, and then some moss and a crow. And let's not forget his friend. There we go, defender of the tree. Some chips and bits of wood. Just placing all the little trinkets down. The clothes are dry at last. Let's just hang them up. Perfect. Now back to my daughter's polymer clay. I promise her I will get some more. I have caned her things. I just want to show you some of the stuff that she's made. She's only 6, but look. Burger, banana, fries. Oh look, eaten watermelon, a little sandwich, a phone or a remote. Orange. She's only 6 years old, guys. Can you believe? But now let's get to making these little pumpkins. I use some orange and yellow polymer clay and some foil for the middle. The orange is going to be laid at the bottom. A little bit of yellow will be put on top of it to give the look of what a real pumpkin would look like inside when you cut it. And then I'm going to wrap them around the foil so that I can remove the foil later. So we've got a nice hollow middle. I use one of the tools that you actually get in the little box. It's a really handy kit. It's really handy, and for beginners like myself, it's just great. So I put a little indentation at the top and the bottom of the pumpkin, and then I use a bamboo stick to kind of make the imprints of the pumpkin. I just imprint it pretty much from the top to the bottom, and just to give it some shape and definition until I'm happy with it. And then I'm going to do this a few more times until I've got enough pumpkins. Oven time. While the pumpkins are in the oven, it's time to make a flower pot. I used some scraps that I found around the house, a lid from a fruit shoot kids drink, and some cardstock paper. I put the paper inside the lid just so that it gives it a little bit more definition when I paint it, and then trim it down to size. And I love these lids because they have a nice little pattern. I'll show you once we've painted it. I'm going to use just some white acrylic paint. You can paint these in whatever color you choose. I just wanted a white pot because it would have been nice and white and bright, like something like this, but it's a bit dirty. Now it's dirty. Then I use a thin strip of cardstock to go around the edge of the lid to give some more definition to the plant pot, and also paint that. And now it's time to give this a dirty wash. I have this wash already pre-made now because I've used so much of it on this project. I just have this like bucket already ready to go, so it looks nice and dirty, like it's been sat outside for a while. I use a little bit of cotton fabric to put on the bottom and glue to stick down some of the soil that we made earlier. And again, you can use whatever you like. This is the sawdust that we made our own flock. I'm just going to place that in there, and now I'll add a couple of dead plants and flowers that I've already got. In the future, I'd love to try and make some of these with some polymer clay when I actually get my own, but these look really nice. They're really dead, old, and it goes perfect for the theme. I have a lot of dried old plants, and this was just absolutely perfect for what I needed. The pumpkins are now ready, and I'm absolutely thrilled with how they've turned out, and they're quite easy to cut as well. So I just cut the top off them, and then I removed the foil, which was a bit tedious, I'm not going to lie, but at the same time relaxing. I know you know what I mean. So once that was done, we've got a nice hollow, and it looks really real on the inside, and I really enjoy how this looks. And now it's time to make the faces on them. And once I finish making the faces, I do add a little bit of Mod Podge gloss to give them a not so matte finish at the end. But oh my gosh, this was a fun experiment. So we've got ourselves some little pumpkins now. Now I'm going to make my porch light. I'm just going to use some craft board. And then I just drill a hole where the bulb will go, and I kind of make my own little style. I'll show you here exactly how I want it to look. I'm doing a rough copy of it using some of the cardstock paper, but I will be changing it up for some plastic. So it's going to be something like this. So I've roughly got my measurements. I know how I want it to look. And now I'm going to just change the cardstock for some plastic. I'm going to cut it into exactly the same shape that I just did. A kind of triangle type shape, leaving a gap for the bulb to come through the back. And then I'm going to add some strips of cardstock to go along the edges, again to make it look like it's like encased in a glass. And then we have it like this, and just simply put it together, and then we're going to give it a nice little paint. I'm going to also cover the edges as well, because I don't want you to see the strip of the light on the inside too. So I make two of these little strips that we can put along the edges of the actual lampshade. So it will look something like this on either side once it's glued on. Now I'm just going to assemble it all together and then hit it up with some paint. I'd like it to be like a rusted black kind of look. So once that's all glued on and stuck together, we can paint this. It would have looked really nice in the old days, but now it's rusted, it's black. And I want to try and show some of the rust with some brown paint, dry brushing some brown paint on there. Just a bit like this. And just to give it some nice little extra old school textures. I add some glue to the base and then just weave the light through until it is nicely placed on top of the door. Magnifique light. I'm going to make an old rusty chair using lollipop sticks and coffee stirrers. To get the thickness of the legs on the chair, I use 3 coffee stirrers and stick them together. And also the same for the legs and the rim of the chair. Just for the thickness, I use 3. So I'm going to stick all of the 3 sections together, and then we're going to make the chair. So I use my cutting board to line everything up nice and straight, and I kind of make the shape of the chair on the cutting board so it looks something like this. I make 2 of these and then connect them with the front and back pieces needed to make the chair. So I have something like this. The only thing was, it was a bit too square for me, so I changed it from 46mm to 40mm. I added some support strips at the back, and this was the final result. Will it hold? Yes, it does. Now it was time for me to paint the chair. I painted it white at first and then gave it a brown wash again, and then I went over it with a couple of dirty washes, and this was the final result. With the diorama finally finished, I put it inside the Roombox and I add the frames. I'm going to add the double layer frames and then hit it up with a nice wood stain paint. And now to round this project up, I complete my prompt journal, added my pictures before and after, the start date, and how I felt making this project. And now it's time for the final reveal, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the process of making this diorama. If you have, comment down below. I hope you got something out of this video as well. Please also check the link in my description for all of my socials. I've set up a new Patreon for anyone who wants to support me over there. And now let's see the final results. Like, share, subscribe.